And as a bailout, it's not a bailout as such, is it? It's taking 15% less off us than we're going to do on an overtaxed industry in any case. So it's tinkering around the edges. It's not really moving forward like other countries have done. The Italians, the French, and the Spanish have taken VAT to 10%. The Germans have gone further than that with 7%. And we're just tinkering out on the edges and costing people jobs with the massive, redundancies yesterday with some pub groups. It's getting harder and harder.
Right, so let me get this straight. The Labour Party, the party that spent decades banging on about protecting working-class communities and the great British pub, is now accidentally on purpose making it easier for developers to bulldoze your local into a block of soulless flats or a chicken shop. I mean, you genuinely cannot write this stuff. Keir Starmer, the man who looks like he's never finished a pint in his life, is presiding over what might be the biggest threat to British boozers since Prohibition. Except we never even had Prohibition, so congratulations, Labour. You've actually outdone America on the let's ruin a good time front. Stick around, because this one's a proper car crash, and I'm about to explain exactly how the government is serving up your favorite pub on a silver platter to property developers who see pound signs where you see pint glasses. But first, quick favor, if you enjoy watching me lose my mind over British politics while desperately clinging to any remaining faith in democracy, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Trust me, you'll want notifications for this circus. Right, let's crack on. So here's the tea, and it's stone cold. Sir Keir Starmer's government has proposed planning reforms that would essentially strip away protections from thousands of pubs across England. And when I say strip away protections, I mean they're rolling out the red carpet for developers to swoop in, convert your beloved local into a Tesco Express or some characterless flats, and laugh all the way to the bank. The campaign for real ale, Camra, for those who actually enjoy a decent pint, is absolutely fuming. And honestly, they're not wrong. Under the current planning rules, local councils are told to guard against the unnecessary loss of valued facilities. That's bureaucrat speak for don't let developers turn every pub into a block of overpriced studios. It's not perfect, but at least it's something. At least there's a framework that says, hang on, maybe we shouldn't let the Red Lion become Red Lion Luxury Apartments, starting at £450,000 for a one-bed. But Labour, bless them, has looked at that system and thought, you know what this needs? Less protection. Way less. Here's where it gets properly mental. The proposed amendment would restrict these protections exclusively to the last remaining pub in any village or town. Read that again. The last pub. So if your village has 2 pubs, guess what? One of them is fair game. Developer sees it, developer wants it, developer gets it. Pop goes the weasel, or in this case, pop goes the pub. It's like telling someone their house has fire insurance, but only if it's the last house standing on the street. Brilliant logic. Absolutely watertight. No notes. Paul Ainsworth, Camra's National Planning Policy Advisor, is not having it. He told The Telegraph, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, but the fury is intact, that these plans could spell the end for thousands of viable pubs across England. Thousands! Not dozens, not a handful of struggling establishments in the middle of nowhere. Thousands of pubs that are currently serving communities, employing people, and providing that irreplaceable thing called a place to actually exist outside your house. He's calling it devastating for communities who would lose a vital part of their social fabric. And he's right.
Because let's be honest about what happens here. Without blanket protections, you get what Ainsworth calls greedy developers cashing in. And look, I'm not saying all property developers are Scrooge McDuck swimming in pools of money while cackling maniacally, but I'm also not saying that. The incentive structure is clear. Pub closes or struggles a bit, developer spots an opportunity, planning permission gets waved through because there's technically another pub down the road, and boom, your local that's been there since 1642 is now the Old Tavern Residences, where a studio costs more than your car. The community loses a gathering space, a cultural landmark, jobs disappear, and some bloke in a Tesla gets richer. It's the circle of life, except it's rubbish and nobody asked for it. Ainsworth is begging ministers to rethink this proposal and keep strong protections for all pubs in the planning system, not just the last one, all of them. Because once they're gone, they're gone. You can't exactly rebuild 400 years of history and atmosphere, can you? Although, knowing this lot, they'd probably try and charge you $8.50 for the privilege. Now, naturally, the government has responded to these concerns. And, naturally, their response is, "You're wrong, actually." A government spokesman came out swinging with this absolute banger. These claims are simply not true. We agree that pubs are vital for communities, which is why our changes to the planning framework give them protections for the first time. For the first time? As if protections haven't existed before. It's giving, "we've always been at war with East Asia" energy. It's revisionist history in real time. They also pointed to business rates cuts, 15% off for pubs from April, bills frozen for 2 years, and their Pride in Place program investing $5 billion to give local people powers to buy assets like pubs. Which, fine, sounds nice on paper, but here's the thing. Cutting business rates is great if the pub still exists. If developers can just convert it into flats before the business rates cut even kicks in, what exactly is the point? It's like offering someone a gym membership after you've demolished the gym. Cheers for that. And this isn't happening in a vacuum, is it? Oh no. This comes hot on the heels of Rachel Reeves' budget, which slapped pubs with tax changes that publicans warned could lead to mass closures, job cuts, and price rises. Because nothing says we support British pubs like taxing them into oblivion and then removing planning protections. It's a 1-2 punch that would make Mike Tyson proud. Just last month, the Revel Collective, which manages 62 pubs across the UK, filed for administration, putting 3,000 jobs at risk. 3,000 jobs! That's not a rounding error. That's a small town's worth of people whose livelihoods depend on an industry that the government claims to care about, while simultaneously kneecapping it. The math isn't mathing, the vibes are horrendous. Planning Minister Matthew Pennycook confirmed in January that policies to protect key community facilities, including pubs, were under review. The government is seeking views on whether protections should only apply to the last facility of its type in an area. Seeking views, as if this is some sort of philosophical debate and not a straightforward question of whether we want to preserve community institutions or hand them over to the highest bidder. The consultation is open until March, which means we're currently in this weird limbo where the future of thousands of pubs hangs in the balance while civil servants shuffle papers and tick boxes. If these reforms get the green light, and let's be real, this government has a track record of plowing ahead regardless of public opinion, we're looking at a landscape where pubs become an endangered species. And not in a cute, let's protect the red squirrel way, in a, whoops, they're all gone, and now we have to explain to future generations what a pub quiz was.
Here's the thing that really gets me. Pubs aren't just buildings. They're not just businesses. They're the social glue of British life. They're where people meet, where communities form, where ideas get debated over a pint of questionable ale and a packet of dry roasted peanuts. They're where you celebrate promotions and drown your sorrows after getting dumped. They're where football gets watched, birthdays get celebrated, and locals become legends. You cannot replicate that in a flat. You cannot get that from a takeaway. When you lose a pub, you lose a piece of the community's identity. And when the government makes it easier to lose pubs by only protecting the absolute last one standing, they're essentially saying your community spaces don't matter until there's literally nothing left. It's reactive instead of proactive. It's short-sighted. And frankly, it's a betrayal of the very communities Labour claims to represent. The irony is absolutely chef's kiss, isn't it? Labour, the party that built its entire brand on supporting working people and community solidarity, is now enabling the destruction of one of the most iconic working-class institutions in the country. You couldn't script this. If this were a Netflix political drama, viewers would complain it's unrealistic. No way would a Labour government do that, they'd say. That's too on the nose. And yet, here we are. Keir Starmer, who looks like he orders a gin and tonic at Weatherspoons and pronounces it Weatherspoons with full enunciation, is presiding over this mess. A man who radiates the energy of someone who's never lingered in a pub past 9 p.m. is making decisions that will fundamentally alter the pub landscape. It's like putting a vegan in charge of a butcher shop. Technically, they can do the job, but you've got to question the judgment. Look, I'm not saying every single pub in the country is a priceless gem that must be preserved at all costs. Some pubs are genuinely terrible. Some probably should become flats because nobody's been in there since 1987 and the carpets are a biohazard. But that's not the point. The point is that communities should have a say. The point is that protections should exist for all pubs, not just the final one clinging to life. The point is that maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't make it absurdly easy for developers to erase cultural landmarks for profit. And if this government won't listen to Camra, won't listen to publicans, won't listen to communities who are watching their locals disappear, then what exactly are they listening to? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like they're listening to the sound of property developers rubbing their hands together and the distant echo of their own terrible decision-making. So, there you have it. Keir Starmer's devastating attack on pubs, served up with a side of bureaucratic nonsense and a complete disregard for what actually makes communities function. If you want to see more breakdowns of political chaos that makes you question everything, subscribe to Brit Article, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment below telling me which pub near you deserves protection, because clearly this government won't. Thanks for watching. I need a drink.